Good afternoon, KXT fans. I am Nancy Sostad, Senior Vice President of Major Gifts for KERA and KXT. Thank you so much for joining us today and for your unwavering support of the station. So now it's my pleasure to introduce Amy Miller, our Director of KXT and host of the KXT Local Show. Amy, just one question to get us started. How have you and your team been handling production at KXT since we began sheltering in place back in March?
Hey, Nancy. Yeah, happy to be here. This is great. I think us at KXT, we're a lot like any other workplace across the country where, it took a couple weeks to kind of get up and running and get used to working from home. But now it's almost like we're a well-oiled machine. We all have our home studios set up, which I know you're going to see in just a few minutes. But yeah, we've been adjusting well. It's been fun.
That's great. So I think we're going to throw it back to you, Amy, and I know we're going to have a special little video coming up because unfortunately we have someone that is not with us, but I know that Paul Slavens wanted to send you a little special video. So here it comes.
Hi there. I'm Paul Slavens. I'm the host of the Paul Slavens Show every Sunday night from 8 until 10 on KXT. I've been with KXT since the very first day, and I could not be prouder of that. It's such a wonderful group of people to work with and a wonderful and loyal group of people that support the station. And so I could not be with you live for this event, but I wanted to make sure that I had the opportunity to come and say thank you. Thank you so much for your continued support of the station and by extension, your support of art and music in our community. It's been a difficult time recently for all of us as individuals, as a country, and as a community. And it's made me keenly aware of the important role that KXT plays in our community, bringing us all together through our love of music and making us aware of great musicians and artists that are working in our community. Now, if you're looking for some new music to listen to, getting a little stir crazy, I'm always looking for great new music, and I always love it when I find a group that I'm familiar with that puts out something new that I really like. Well, there's a group called 1100 Springs from right here in the DFW area. They've been around for a long time, but they got a new record out called Here 'Tis. It's been getting a lot of great response, and it should because it's a wonderful record. So hope you can check it out. That's 1100 Springs, Here 'Tis. So I just wanted to say thanks again for all the support that you give to the station and to the community. And I hope that you enjoy the rest of this live event. Have a great day. Bye.
It was nice to see Paul's shining face, though. We love Paul. So sorry that he could not be here today, but we do have some KXT guests that we would love for you guys to meet in person, face to face, because we know that you're used to hearing their voices over the radio. So first, we're going to go to Brad Dolbeer. Brad is our assistant program director, and he's also the host of KXT's morning show. So let's check in with Brad. Hey, Brad.
Hello.
I'm liking the hair. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I just want to apologize. I haven't been able to go to the barber since February, so things have gotten a little out of hand here, as you can see.
Yeah, it's grown a lot, I have to say.
A lot. Those of you that have met me before are probably shocked. So, yeah, here I am, home studio. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, your home studio. It's interesting because we all have our home studios kind of set up in different places. Some of us are in closets, others, I'm in my one of my bedrooms in my house, and you are set up in your kitchen, is that right?
I am set up in my kitchen, and if I can do this without disconnecting, I'll kind of show you around here. So that is my kitchen. There's my refrigerator. But I chose this because I didn't want to be kind of stuck in a big closet. So this is a really kind of a cool part of my house. It's a big open area, as you can see.
Yeah, your house is so great. I've been there once or twice, and the thing I love about being in that space you're in right now is there's so many things to look at. You've been doing radio for a long time now, longer
Yes.
than any of us, and you just have so much cool memorabilia around your house and so many cool stories to go with it.
Yeah, let me show you. I picked out a couple of things to show. It's Brad's show and tell.
And Brad, I have to say, Brad is the guy where when you're walking around the station at KXT or walking down the hallways, and you mention literally any musician, and Brad, you're the one to say, "Oh yeah, I met them back in 1997," and then you phone, and here's a photo of us standing together. I mean, like pretty much any musician you mention, it's really cool. Yeah, right. What do you think there?
Okay, this one is this was given to me by a college buddy of mine, and it's a drawing of Miles Davis, done by a guy named George Frayne, who some people might remember. There was a group called Commander Cody and his Lost Planet Airmen, and George Frayne is Commander Cody, so he drew this and autographed it as well. So this is one of my favorites.
Oh my God, that's cool. It is Brad's show and tell right now. I love it.
It is. This is an autographed Paul Newman poster that I got. One of my favorite movies, Sometimes a Great Notion, which was filmed in my home state of Oregon.
Cool.
So, kind of cool.
Yeah.
And finally, the only gold record I have in my collection. This was given to me back in, I think it was 1999. For Dylan's album, Time Out of Mind.
Man, that's a gold album to have.
It is. If I had one, this would be it. It's got all kinds of little thumbnails of all of his albums up to that point, and then a disc in the middle. So that's Brad's show and tell.
Cool. Well, how's it been for you adjusting to everything that's been going on? I mean, you go into the studio normally when we go into the station. You're going in at 4:30 in the morning, 4:30.
Right. So yeah, I'm used to kind of being alone, and I live alone. I have a cat. So I'm used to living a solitary life pretty much for the most part, but it's starting to be a bit of a challenge just because I like to go out occasionally, but I'm pretty much here most of the time. So, it could be a lot worse. So I try to look at it that way. I still am able to do this from home, which is incredible. And so yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, well, good checking in with you. I think we might have some questions coming up for people watching. We have a couple right now. Let's see. Dinah Miller is asking, any funny stories from broadcasting from home?
Not really. I've had to pause it a couple of times because the garbage men come by when I'm in the middle of doing my thing. So that's, other than the sound stuff and maybe having a cat run by my feet, it's pretty much the same as being at the station. So.
Yeah, and I actually love hearing those background noises too. Sometimes I listen to Gini at night and I hear her cat hop up on her table, which is really cool. But well, thanks. I'm sure we'll have more questions popping up a little bit later. We're actually going to go to Eric Bright next. Eric is our Director of Radio Operations for both KERA and KXT. And Eric is actually the behind the scenes guy for all of our KXT live sessions. So any band that you've heard in the KXT studio or watched, the sound that you're hearing, that's all due to Eric's work. So Eric, you're set up at your home studio as well. You're on Sundays at KXT. How's it going over there?
Yeah, it's going fine. Thank you for asking. I mean, you see, I've kind of used you're seeing what I'm looking at. That's what I'm looking at right here in front of me. And yeah, so I'm set up here in my, actually in a corner of my master bedroom, right by a bay window, right by my next door neighbor's fence with the occasional barking dogs and stuff. But it's all going really well here from my house.
Yeah, well, like I said, I mean, you're part of every live session that we have in the KXT studios. Not only that, but you've been at the station since the beginning. So you've seen over 10 years now of bands coming through the studios. Do you have any favorites, like anything that really stands out to you?
I kind of clicked through, and of course the first session we ever did is a favorite, and that was the great Sarah Jaffe. And Robert Gomez, if you know Rob G from back in the 90s, and he was a Denton artist. He's a great musician. I think he's in San Francisco or something now. And Sarah has been there, what, 4 or 5 times, I think, over the years. But that first time was really, really special. Also on that first day was the O's, the Dallas duo, the great Dallas duo. And I don't know if y'all remember this, but maybe some out there, I know Gini does. The first 2 weeks of KXT, we had 2 live sessions a day. For the first 2 weeks, we went on the air. So and back then they were a little more stripped down and a little more, we were doing them right there next to our control room, and they didn't look like they look now. And we've morphed over the years and gone down into the KERA TV studios, and so they look so fantastic now. But in those early days, it was, I guess more was better. We just had lots and lots of them.
Yeah, and it's really cool going back and looking at those old live sessions and seeing how they've evolved, both with the sound and just visually, how they've evolved over the years. That's really cool to see. With all the bands that have come in, I know that I have a couple personal artists, but I'm wondering if you have any artists that you've seen that have come into the station and you've been totally starstruck by.
Oh yeah, well, one of my favorite bands of all time was the Jayhawks. And when the Jayhawks came, I was so excited to even, it was just the duo then, and I was so excited to have them in the studio. I like Fits and the Tantrums a lot, and that was also one that was like, that's kind of a story where their road manager just said, we were nowhere near ready. And their road manager just said, you've got to get this going in 4 minutes or we're leaving. And I just said, all right, well, let's hit record and see what happens. But we were live most of the time in those early days. And so that was live on the radio, and that was all we could do. I remember a funny one was James McMurtry, the great Texas artist.
Oh, yes.
James McMurtry. And one of my favorite stories was him, he writes these 6, 7, 8-minute songs. And our former colleague, Joe Cazzera, was doing the interview. And Joe had this nice long setup and question. James was sort of discovered by John Mellencamp. And so Joe sort of leads into the interview and has this nice long question about John Mellencamp discovering James, and asked James, what was that like, with those early days with John Mellencamp? And James just looks at him, and this was live on the radio, and he said, the statute of limitations is over on that question.
Just did not want to answer.
No, and Joe just went, how about a song?
I think that was shortly after I started at KXT. I love hearing stories like that. Mine was, I love it when musicians come in, because sometimes you see them, people have their rock star look, what they go on stage with and what we see in the press. But when they come into radio stations, sometimes they're just in sweats and they look like normal people. I think my starstruck moment was when Chrissie Hynde of the Pretenders came in, because when I rounded the corner and saw her through the window, it was like, that's Chrissie Hynde. That's what I'm used to seeing. And she looked like a total rock star. But cool. Yeah, Eric, you've been with us since the beginning. You have some great stories. I know you could go on forever and ever talking about all of the bands that have been in KXT, but we actually have a musician who's going to play for you now, and he's a local musician from Dallas. He is a musician who I just discovered last year. I host KXT's local show, and it's a great opportunity to discover music that's right here in North Texas. And AJ Abdullah is one of those musicians. Hey, AJ.
Hey.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. I have to say, the first time I discovered you somewhat recently, the first time I heard your voice, it was like, oh my gosh, who is this? He has a golden voice. It's so beautiful. And we're thinking a musician to play for us today. I mean, you were one of the first people that came to mind. So we would love to hear a song. Which one are you going to start with for us?
Yeah, of course. So I'm going to start with a little song I wrote called Oh the Moon, and the acoustic version, because I have like a lo-fi version out. I don't know. But so this is the acoustic version.
Great.
So, oh, the moon pales in comparison to you, and I don't know what I should do. Oh, love always feels like it gets in the way. Hanging up, but we got nothing to say. See you tomorrow, love you through sorrow. Leave me some breadcrumbs and I swear I'll follow you. The right way's feeling so wrong, but the right way should lead me to you. Cause if it's true, I don't know what I'll do. Oh, the moon pales in comparison to you. And I don't know what I should do. Your eyes look like the stars. You're taking me too far. No matter how high we go, I'll find my way back to you. Ooh, ooh. Oh, the moon leaving me oh so soon. Will I see you again? I'll stay right here till then. Oh, singing out to all the stars, hoping you hear me wherever you are. Calling your name each and every day. If they call me insane, I'll say, oh, the do-do-do, do-do-do-do, 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 do-do-do.
That was awesome. I see some
Thank you.
virtual claps that are silenced right now, but that was amazing. God, I love your voice. I was looking online earlier today. I mean, you have some major streaming numbers online. I saw like over 1 million streams for your music on Spotify. That's pretty impressive.
Thank you so much. I'd like to blame it mostly on luck, just honestly.
Oh, you're too humble. So what have you been up to during quarantine? I know this is kind of like a good time for creatives because it gives you a lot of time to be doing stuff.
Yeah, so honestly, I was busy just finishing school because I'm an advertising major at UT Austin right now. And yeah, so we switched over to online. So I was mostly dealing with school and now summer classes, which are awful, but I think like I'm still finding time to like make as much music as I can and honestly just become a better musician because I'm still learning and stuff.
Yeah, and you do have a handful of songs out right now. Are you working on an album or an EP next? What's your plan for the future?
Yes, so I'm working on a full acoustic EP because my goal right now is just to get better as an artist and just get better at songwriting, honestly. And I don't know, I'm honestly just trying to explore a lot of new sounds this summer and see how much music I can make overall. Yeah,
well, that's great. Where can people check you out online? Do you want to plug yourself a little bit? Website?
Oh yeah, sure. So my name is AJ Abdullah, Abdullah. I don't know if I can type that.
We'll put it in the notes section for you.
Sweet, yeah. And I'm available on all streaming services and stuff.
Great. And I think you have a new song that you're going to play for us next, right?
Yes. So I have so this is off my upcoming EP. My EP is called Sleepy Time Tea because I'm literally having some right now. But yeah, so this is a cute little acoustic song called 2 p.m.
Great.
Sweet. We wake up past 2 p.m. again. Does this mean we'll have breakfast for lunch instead? I try to help you in the kitchen, but all I make is a mess. I promise I'll get better so we can enjoy the rest of the day and figure out everything on the way, 'cause I don't care about the world. All I need is you. We have the rest of our lives, I know we'll make it through. I know we'll make it through. We wake up past 2 p.m. again. The birds have finished singing, so why don't we stay in bed? There's no harm in holding on and taking a break. You and me and some herbal tea, 'cause I'm scared of caffeine. So don't let go. I wish I could let you know that I don't care about the world. All I need is you. We have the rest of our lives, I know we'll make it through. I know we'll make it through. I hope we'll make it through. I've never been afraid of love, but maybe I'm afraid of you. Maybe I'm afraid of all the things that I think I could lose. I wish I could just stay here instead of giving in to my fears and messing up everything I touch and causing all of your tears. Ooh, oh, 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 oh.
AJ, thank you so much. I see a question here for you. Somebody's asking, what type of small guitar is that?
Oh, so fun fact, this is a baritone ukulele.
Ooh, Mac McGinnis almost got it right. He said a bass ukulele, which I think is very similar, right?
Yeah, it's pretty close, yeah.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for performing for us today. You know, I've been missing live. I know a lot of us have been missing the live music experience. So that's giving us a little taste of it again. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And for those watching, I know we're putting some links to AJ's music in the Q&A section.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Of course. All right, well, let's check in with Gini Mascorro. Let's see.
Hey,
Here. Hey,
can you hear
Gini.
me?
Yes. So Gini
Hi,
is
everybody.
Jeannie's another one of our DJs who's been with us since the beginning. Gini, you've been with us for, I mean, since the station started over 10 years ago. And you know, you have your finger on the pulse with like new music more than any of us. I always love it when I discover an artist before you do, because that's so rare that that happens. I'd say 9 out of 10 times you know of somebody before anybody else at the station. Gini also, she hosts our new music show as well as the night show on KXT, and you're broadcasting like the rest of us from your home studios. How's it going there?
So far, so good. Sometimes the closet gets a little claustrophobic, so I have to get out and take little, disco dance breaks. And because of this, I've rediscovered my deep disco roots. I've got this mandatory workday rule that I have to have a disco break at least 3 times a day at a minimum of 10 minutes each.
Ooh,
so that's about 30 minutes worth of exercise.
All right.
Or just kind of bopping around.
Yeah, I'm going to have to try that. I see you kind of like Brad. It looks like you have some albums behind you. What do you have behind you there?
I do. Let's see. I've got Willie Nelson, Texas in My Soul. That's from 1962.
Classic.
I've got the original Sticky Fingers and Her Satanic Majesty's Request. albums that were gifted to me from a friend. Both really great albums, but had to have them framed. This is the Slash early sessions. Slash was a record label back in LA in the early 80s that gave us X and Rank and File and the Blasters and the Violent Femmes.
Cool.
So this album was kind of my single-handedly my music education when I was, a wee one. And then, of course, Herb Alpert's Tijuana Brass, just because
Nice.
Herb Alpert. Yeah.
Well, cool. And like I said, you're so into the new music, and you're always bringing us new stuff to listen to. I personally have found that this is a really good time to not only rediscover those old gems, but just really dig deep. And I mean, so many musicians are releasing such great music right now because they have the time to record it. What have been kind of your I've heard this term go around a lot, your quarantunes, as they're calling it. Are there any albums or any songs that you've been listening to a lot lately?
I really like this new one that's a collaboration with Dave Sitek of TV on the Radio and this producer named Daniel Ladinsky, and a song called Never Come Down. It's really, really kooky and fun. There's so much really, really great stuff coming out right now that, it's just like in a cartoon, all these things kind of whiz by your head and you have to sort of, catch what you can. And, there's a lot.
Yeah, I like the song you just mentioned. I just heard that yesterday for the first time. I heard Leon Bridges just released a new song that is like absolutely beautiful. Not only that, but I think a couple days ago, he just released a brand new video for it, which is so cool because he filmed it in Fort Worth. It features all his friends and some of his family members. And I mean, gosh, and he wrote the song for the Times. And I mean, he released an album a couple years ago, but he's clearly been staying busy. He's released so much great music this last year.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's from my hometown, so I'm a little biased that I think he's wonderful. But the video and the song it came at just the right time. And we're getting a lot of music right now that is just so heartfelt, it's genuine, and it's coming from a real place. Yeah. That we're really lucky. Yeah, definitely.
And you've been writing some content for the KXT blog. I know it's also not only is it a time to listen to music, but it's a good time to be watching, music. We're watching movies in general, reading books. Yeah. You've been doing a lot of that, watching music documentaries, which you've been writing about, and reading music autobiographies. What have been like some of your favorites that you've gotten into so far?
Well, if you haven't yet checked out Mikel Gillet from Airborne Toxic Event, he just wrote his memoir, Hollywood Park, which is also the name of the brand new Airborne Toxic Event album. And he had a really interesting life. His mother, both of his parents were in a cult. And the book starts with him and his brother and his mom not running away, but escaping the compound of the cult that they were involved with. And it's a really very raw and very visceral kind of book. Just like my other favorite is All I Ever Wanted by Kathy Valentine of the Go-Go's. A fabulous, fabulous book. And she's a Texas gal. So there's a nice little, Texas angle to that. Yeah.
I think you wrote about, I'm halfway through Liz Phair's new book. You wrote about that, inspired me to pick it up. So I'd say I'm about halfway through. It's pretty good. Yeah.
It really is. There are other things coming out. There's this book about, she wasn't a musician, but she was a muse. Anita Pallenberg, who was the longtime lady love of Keith Richards. There's finally a book coming out about her, which I'm really excited about.
Yes, and see Brad shaking his head over there.
Brad knows all about Anita.
Yeah.
But,
cool.
And also, I just watched it the other night, but The Five Bloods, the brand new Spike Lee.
Oh, I've seen that.
Amazing.
Yeah, I've seen that on Netflix or one of those streaming platforms. I need to get to that.
I can't stop thinking about it. And it, of course, has a wonderful soundtrack.
Yeah, well, cool. Mac is asking if anyone is doing puzzles, if anyone else is doing puzzles. Sounds like Mac's doing a lot of puzzles these days. Jeannie, have you gotten
No,
it?
but I need one.
It seems like it seems like a lot of people have kind of gravitated towards them lately.
It seems like the perfect therapy, kind of like needlepoint or anything that, involves your hands, something that, where you can kind of shut your brain off and, use your hand. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I need one of those.
Well, we're going to keep our eye on the Q&A section. If anybody has any questions for anyone, please feel free to chime in. We're going to talk to right now one of the newer voices on KXT. Jackson Wisdorf has joined us not only as our afternoon host and host of Funky Friday on KXT, but he's our operations and productions coordinator.
Hey, it's me.
Hey, Jackson. Well, thanks for being part of this today. And I have to say, it's an interesting time for you to be starting at the station, because I feel like very shortly after you started here, we all went into quarantine. So what's that been like for you?
It's been kind of weird. Yeah, it was about a month of working in the station, and then we all started working from home. So yeah, that was very strange way to start things off, but still, happy to be here and happy to be on the air and doing everything.
Yeah, well, since there might be some people watching that aren't too familiar with you or your background, can you tell us a little bit about what you were doing before you joined us at KXT?
Oh yeah, I was in Marfa, Texas. I was a local All Things Considered host and production operations person at Marfa Public Radio. And if you don't know where Marfa is, it's a really tiny little town, basically on the Texas-Mexico border of far west Texas. 1,200 population of 1,200 people. No one gets mail delivered. You got to go to the post office to get your mail, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I was down there for the last 5 years, but I'm from Dallas originally, so it's good to be back in the area. Yeah,
and I have to say, those small market stations, I mean, that's where you really learn radio, because it's like you're literally doing like 10 jobs at once, because a lot of times there's just maybe 5 people working at the entire station. Was that the case for you in Marfa?
Yeah, it was. I think total we had in the station we had 7 full-time employees, and then we had 1 full-time employee that lived in Midland, more so towards civilization, not in the middle of the desert. But yeah, doing a little bit of everything. It's kind of where I learned how to do everything, cut my teeth, as they say.
Yeah. Well, in addition to being a radio expert, I haven't heard you play yet, but I hear you are a musician.
Yeah, I am. It's kind of a mix. I'm currently in a metal band that is in Marfa. I'm still in that band. Practice remotely and send riffs and stuff back and forth to each other. But I also like to make really dumb, kind of stupid songs to pass the time. That was one of my quarantine projects that I did, is I made a little EP about a month ago.
Oh, hey, well, I haven't received my copy yet.
I'll have to send it in for the local show. Yeah, I don't know if it's good enough to get on there.
You're a bass player, right?
Yeah, I play bass, and I'm learning currently how to play the melodica.
Ooh, nice. Hey, we can have melodica duets. I have a couple of those at my house, surprisingly.
Yeah, there it is, right there.
Well, cool. Good checking in with you, Jackson. We actually have a few voices on KXT that are relatively new. Another one of those voices is Jeff Penfield. Jeff has been doing some weekend stuff for us. Jeff is also the radio operations manager for KXT and KERA. Jeff, you're also one of very few people who has been going into the station pretty consistently. I'm wondering what the vibe is around there, because usually, I mean, we have anywhere from 80 to 100 people at the station, and there's people all over the place all the time. What's it been like?
It's really quiet. I mean, it is just so weird. Like, there's, normally you go into an office building, all the lights are on, you got people passing you in the hallway. Now it's just like, I don't know how many people have been to the KERA building. It's this long building, and it's just this long walk where you don't see anyone usually for a little while. You might see one other person who's there, but it's just weird being so quiet there, because all the reporters are pretty much at home unless they have to come in. We have a couple of hosts on KERA, but with everybody else, it's really the only people who are there, the people who absolutely have to be there.
Yeah. Well, like Jackson, as I was saying, you're pretty new at this station, relatively new. Tell us a little bit about your background. Where were you before, and what were you doing?
So I was pretty much the exact opposite of Jackson because my last job was in Los Angeles, which is a little bigger than here in terms of market size. So I actually came from a music station, and this is my first time really going into, I do more news than I do music at the moment, but you know, I was in Los Angeles, which obviously has its own big music scene, and if you think that Dallas, Fort Worth, like North Texas is spread out, you haven't seen anything till you've been to Southern California. But I'm originally from Massachusetts, so yeah, I started up there at this really well-known college station, WERS at Emerson College in Boston, and kind of went to LA from there.
Yeah, I mean, you and I are similar in that, you know, I was born and raised in California, and then I lived on the East Coast for 10 years. I'm curious, I'm not going to say what I thought. I'm curious to get your opinion on somebody who's not from Texas, moving to Texas. What were your perceptions before you moved here of what the music scene would be like? And then after you moved here, now what are your thoughts?
I mean, I didn't really know what to expect, you know, and this is nothing bad about North Texas music scene. You know, it's not one of those ones that's known nationwide. It's not an Austin. It's not an LA. It's not, you know, Nashville, one of these cities that's really well known for music, but it's definitely vibrant. And to a degree, I think it's very helpful because in LA, you kind of get these pockets of, you know, you're going to get your indie rock people over here in Silver Lake, and you're going to get your kind of techno-y people over in West Hollywood and on the West Side. And here it just feels like there's a little more, I don't know, it seems like people take a few more chances and have a little more creativity, and it's not as much about, you know, trying to make it big in the music industry right away. It's just about, you know, a little more about making great music.
Yeah, I have to say when I moved, so I moved here from Philadelphia, a great music city, much different music scene there. But like I said, I'm from the California Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area originally. And before I moved here, I remember telling all my friends and family that I was moving to Texas, and they were like, oh my gosh, you're moving to Texas, you're not gonna last a year there. And then so in my head, I kind of had this perception of I was gonna be at work, walking down the halls, and people were gonna be in their cowboy boots and their cowboy hats, and it was gonna be very Texas, what you see as a kid, you know, on cartoons or TV shows when you're born and raised in California. And I wasn't sure what the music scene was gonna be like. And then I moved here, and I have to say, I was so pleasantly surprised. The music scene here is awesome, really diverse. You have every type of music, and not only that, but you have such great musicianship here. And we've been seeing that a lot. I mean, I've seen that a lot since I've moved here, just bands breaking out left and right and getting signed to major labels. So yeah, it's been interesting.
Yeah, it's one of those, it's just kind of like there's this openness about it. I don't know really how to describe it. It just seems like there's a little more of a blending of styles sometimes. I think they're like, that was kind of what I was talking about with taking more chances.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the big things about here, the food's a lot better. I like the food better here because it's like in LA, like you can get really, really nice, great food. Like you can get like top-notch fancy restaurants or crappy takeout, and there's not really anything in between. Here it's just the variety of food is better too. So if you're going out to a show, you've got a better chance of actually getting a good meal beforehand, because in LA sometimes you go somewhere there's like nothing great around.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, the restaurants in Dallas are amazing. I've had family visit me and they've left completely impressed. Well, that's cool to hear someone coming from LA saying Dallas beat the LA food scene. I like it. All right, well, another newer voice on our station is Nilufer Arsala. Nilufer, you're actually back for a second time at the station. You worked
Yes, I am.
a little bit, but you were here. You were here before KXT?
I was here just like a week or two before the launch of KXT, so I was here for the launch. I've been gone about 8 years, and now I'm back.
And we were just talking about the local music scene. I love talking to you about music because you know so many cool local bands that you turned me on to. I mean, I think today alone you sent me like 2 or 3 emails with local artists to check out. Not only that, but you filled in for me for the local show. You're kind of my go-to. Who are some local artists that you're really liking these days?
Well, I think my ultimate favorite kind of folky on the rock side of things band is going to be Loyal Sally. They're out of Garland. And the thing I really like about them, their music is good. It's kind of more folk on the folk kind of side. Their live show is just spectacular. It's, you know, cracking jokes. It's funny. They pull the audience in. It's really lovely. Also kind of on the rock side, I really like Atlantis Aquarius.
Oh yeah, they're great.
Yeah, they are. They're kind of more of a southern rock feel with some psychedelic stuff mixed in. Really, really just amazing to listen to. Beautiful harmonies between the lead singers. And then on the hip hop side, Cure for Paranoia, which is, you know, breakout Deep Ellum stars, they're fantastic. You have like electronic beats mixed with Stanley's beautiful falsetto voice and Cameron's amazing raps. And then also, one of my recent discoveries is Cash Page, she's 19 years old.
I know her.
I think she grew up in Grand Prairie, and she had this song she put out last year, and, you know, nothing really came of it. Well, it's recently gone viral on TikTok. Just kind of boosted her song that she just kind of put out, didn't think anything of, and she's signed to Def Jam now, and her latest like full EP was called Parked Car Convos, and it's just fantastic. Just amazing.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah, I got to check her out. You might have sent me a link to her music earlier today. Okay, cool. I'll check that out. And you mentioned Cure for Paranoia. I love them too. I'm actually going to play them on the local show tonight, which starts at 7 o'clock. Got to do a quick plug for that. But how has it been working at home for you? I'm getting used to the background when I talk to you on video. I see you're in your studio right now. How has it been for you?
It's been great. I converted my extra bedroom, which was kind of like my office. I got everything plugged in here to my computer, so I can't move it too much, but I got like a 2-mic setup, and then I've got like blankets on the walls to kind of help. And you can't see him, but my dog's over there asleep on the ground.
Nice.
And
what's your dog's name?
His name is Max.
Max.
Mad Max Rakatansky, and he looks really, really scary, but he's scared of cats. So, and I saw somebody asked about if there's any funny pet stories. Every time I'm doing my thing, I have to wake him up because he snores. So every time.
Oh, really?
Every single time before I say anything, I'm like, Max.
Has he ever made it onto the air?
No, I normally wake him up. He snores loud.
Yeah. I love it. Well, I know that we actually have some photos. Some people have been curious as to what our home studios look like. This is my home studio, pretty basic. I kind of double this room as a music studio too. Spent a lot of my 20s playing in bands and still futz around with it. Brad's kitchen studio. Love it, Brad. Jeannie's closet with her cat. Jeannie, your cat's name is Lady Mary, I think?
Yes, just like Lady Mary in Downton Abbey.
Love it. I hear her make cameos on your show every once in a while.
You know, she made one last night too. Now if I could just get her to meow,
yeah,
that would be really cool.
Eric Bright's studio. We saw that beautiful background. And Jackson. Ooh, Jackson's you've got some soundproofing up there. A true musician. Oh, yeah. You came prepared.
New addition.
I like it. Jeff Penfield recording in the closet as well. That's where you get the best sound.
You do, and it's a mess, which actually I think helps. It's literally like having all that junk in there is just like it dampens the sound.
I love that photo though, because it's so honest. It's like that's what that's what everybody's.
That's it. That's what I look at.
And Nilufer. There's Max. Love it.
That's where he is right now, actually.
Well, cool. I think we're gonna see if there's any questions we didn't get to. Nancy, I'm not sure if you were keeping track. Maybe there's.
Yeah, I am. So we've got a question actually for you from Matt McGinnis. He wants to know how many submittals per week do you get for your local show?
Ooh, a lot. Too many to count on it. Honestly, I have a whole folder in my inbox devoted to local music, and on busy weeks I fall a little behind. Oh geez, I don't know, if I had to guess, like per week, 30 to 40. And if I'm falling behind, obviously that starts stacking up. But it's fun. I mean, I love going through all the local music and discovering artists, and I love hearing from local musicians after KXT has played them, and we really see the impact that KXT has on their careers. You know, I've had musicians, my favorite part of it is getting emails from them saying, thank you so much for playing us. We just booked a gig, our first gig at so-and-so venue, because they saw that, you know, you've been giving them airtime. So that's really great to see.
Oh, I love that. So we've got a couple of questions from Dinah Miller. One is she wants to know if there's been any funny stories while you've been on the air at home. And Amy, she wants to know if you play the guitar.
I'll let other people chime in with any funny stories they have first, if you guys want to. Anybody? Silence. Radio silence. I don't know if I have any funny stories. But I don't know if technical difficulties, I don't think I'd call that funny, but it certainly happens. And yes, I definitely play guitar. I spent a lot of my younger years playing in bands on the East Coast, and went to school actually for piano. So I have a degree in classical piano, which is not being used as much as I wish it was these days, but it's still fun to play every once in a while.
Well, that's great, Amy. Thank you so much. I didn't know that you played piano. I love that. So we're kind of coming to the end of our time here. If we miss some of your questions, I promise we will email you back or give you a call probably by tomorrow, just to let you know what those answers are. I just want to say that this has been so much fun for us. It's been a treat. So thank you to the KXT staff, and hats off to our musical performer, AJ. So nice to have a live performance for once. So thank you so much. As you may have heard, we're doing something a little different for our fundraising. We're just going to have a one-day drive this time. It's going to be on Wednesday, June 24th. Because of your support, KXT provides, awareness, exposure, and support for local artists like AJ that we normally wouldn't have access to. So we're committed to prioritizing that service right now by shortening our drive. So we hope you join us. It's just a one-day goal. You can also donate early at kxt.org/donate. We would really appreciate it. So thank you again for joining us this evening. Please don't forget to tune in to KXT, and we hope to see all of you soon face to face. Take care. Bye-bye.